Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gurvmlk, and this here is a Mega Man fanfic that I wrote in 6th grade. Needless to say, that means this is terrible, but as those of you who watched my most recent upload may recall, I brought up that I've written some little stories in my past.
Every time I attack a bat with Gong in this game, it makes me think back to a long time ago when I was writing a fan fiction of this game. I even wrote a sequel. I called it Shining Force 3. I don't remember if I knew there was a Shining Force 3 game at that time or if that game was even quite out yet. I skipped Shining Force 2. I didn't write a story for that. I just skipped that one and went straight to writing my own original story of Shining Force 3. I have written a couple Pokemon fanfics over the years. When I was younger, original tales written by me without any connection to any of the games or the anime or the manga or anything like that. It was just purely my own thing. That's a story though that was never finished. I don't think I got very far in it. And even if it were finished, I wouldn't be able to share it with people anyway because that was ages ago and neither of these stories exist any longer in any form. Alright, that reminds me, I also wrote a Mega Man fanfic ages ago. That was even longer ago. So there's actually another example of writing something like that I did once that I completely forgot about until just now, which is funny because that actually does still exist.
This is one of them that, for whatever reason, I held on to and never got rid of. It was done in school during free writing. I had to come up with something to write about, and at the time I was really into the Mega Man cartoon, so I thought, why not do something based around that and the video games? So I wrote something roughly based on the characters in that, or at least terrible interpretations of them, and while roughly following the events of the video games. I tried. So that's what this is. And I don't want every video on this channel to just be me playing a game. So I thought, for whatever insane reason, I would share this. I haven't read it myself in years, but just skimming through some of the first page, I invite you to pull up a chair and prepare to cringe, because there will be a lot of that, I assure you. I've never been more nervous about anything in my entire life. One day in the year 200X AD, there is an army of evil robots destroying the Earth. Their leader and inventor is the evil scientist, Dr. Wily. He believes that soon the Earth will be his, but it won't, because the good scientist, Dr. Light, is going to stop him by making his own fighting robots. Way to spoil the ending in the very first paragraph, past me. Some good storytelling right there. In a couple of weeks, Dr. Light's robots were complete. He had a male and a female. Their names were Roll and Mega Man. After Dr. Light told them about Dr. Wily's plan to take over the world, Mega Man and Roll headed for Skull Castle, Dr. Wily's headquarters. When he found out about this, he was furious. "No! Dr. Light's going to ruin everything!" he shouted. "What's the matter, Doc?" Proto Man asked after hearing the doctor shout very loudly. Proto Man is his chief robot, and he's Mega Man's older brother. Dr. Wily responded, "Dr. Light made 2 fighting robots, and they're coming this way." "Ha!" Proto Man said. "When you shouted, the castle nearly collapsed. You're a big mouth." "I'm not a big mouth," Dr. Wily shouted sharply. Suddenly, Guts Man, the strongest of the robots, entered the room. "Okay, so you're a loud mouth," he said to the doctor. Later, all the other robots were in the room. "You'd better get quiet or this place will collapse," said Elecman, the fastest of the bots. "I could hold it up," said Guts Man, just being a show-off. You could not, Elecman said sharply. Suddenly part of the wall got blown to bits. It's Mega Man in Roll, shouted Cutman. He's the most annoying. How did they find us? Who cares how they found us, said Dr. Wily. Just destroy them. So with that, 3 of Dr. Wily's robots charged at Mega Man. The 3 robots that did this were Elecman, Gutsman, and Iceman, who looks like an Eskimo. Just then, Mega Man aimed his Mega Buster at the floor and blasted. The plasma energy that came out of his weapon blew a hole right through the floor, and Gutsman, Iceman, and Elecman fell in while charging at Roll and Mega Man. That was a sentence. Then the 2 heroes ran off, and as they did, Roll shouted back, "We'll be back, bad boys!" That line. Later, at Dr. Light's lab, Dr. Light thought, "I sure hope Mega Man and Roll are alright." Just then, Mega Man entered the lab. "Mega Man, you're back," said Dr. Light in relief. "Where's Roll?" he asked. "Why isn't she with you?" Mega Man looked behind himself with shock, then turned back to Dr. Light. "I have to go find her," he told Dr. Light. "Dr. Wily will try to capture her if he finds out that she's missing. I'll be back soon." And with that, Mega Man ran off to find his sister. "Good luck, Mega Man," shouted Dr. Light. "Be careful." Then Mega Man disappeared out of sight. Meanwhile, Dr. Wily just discovered about what happened. What? Go capture that girl, he shouted at Proto Man. "Should I bring her back dead or alive?" Proto Man asked. "I don't care if she's dead or alive, just get her over here," Dr. Wily answered. "Now you're talking," Proto Man grinned. "Can I take some help with me?" he asked. Proto Man would never ask for help. "You," Dr. Wily answered, "can take 3 of my Robot Masters with you, but just don't get them destroyed. Just don't come back empty-handed. Now go choose your squad and get her." And with that, Proto Man vanished into the darkness. Someplace else, Roll is having troubles of her own. "I'd better collect some sand just to be safe," she moaned. She turned her hand into a hairdryer and sucked up sand to spray at any enemies that come. What kind of plan is that? It was the middle of the night. Suddenly, Roll hears something. Swoosh! "What was that, Roll?" "What was that?" Roll whispered quickly. She faced the bush in which the sound came from. It was shaking. "Give it up," she said, blasting the sand at the shadow. "Ah!" he shouted, pushing Roll into the ground. "That's it," she shouted, turning her hand into a flashlight and pointing it in the direction of the guy, but he wasn't there. Then she saw the shadow. She turned her hand into a hockey stick and hit a rock at him, then pointed the flashlight at him. It was Mega Man, Roll shouted. "What are you doing here?" "I came to look for you," he answered, "but you attacked me." "You attacked me also," Roll said. "And when did I do that?" he asked. "When you punched me," Roll started. "Hold on," Mega Man interrupted in a loud voice. "I didn't punch you, and the only reason I bumped you was because you blew the sand in my face so I couldn't see. Then I tripped and fell into a bush. I was only trying to get to you before Dr. Wily did." Bang! "Ah!" Mega Man screamed, getting blasted to the ground. "Ha ha!" Proto Man laughed, walking up to Mega Man. "Can I take the girl now?" Fireman shouted, picking her up. He's the best fighter. Which I believe I based solely on the fact that he always gave me a lot of trouble in the original game. Because other than that, I think he's only in like 1, maybe 2 episodes of the cartoon, so I only really had my experiences with the video games to base that assumption off. "Of course," Proto Man answered. "Gutsman, get my brother into the vehicle." And then they flew off to Skull Castle. When they got back, Dr. Wily told them, "Take them to the dungeon." Later, Mega Man woke up. "What happened?" he asked. "We're in Dr. Idiot's dungeon. That's where we are," Roll answered. "Well, let's get out," Mega Man said, destroying the bars with his cannon. But as they exited, Cutman jumped in their way and shot scissors at them. "Give it up, blue dweeb," he said. "Why?" Mega Man asked, blasting the scissors. "Because," Cutman answered. "Why?" Mega Man asked again. "Or I'll do something about it," Cutman answered. "What will you do, sit on the toilet?" Mega Man asked. Elementary school insults, people. They're really something. I'll kill you, Cutman answered. How? Mega Man asked, blasting Cutman to bits. Then Mega Man started glowing. Hi. What's happening? Roll shouted. Just then there was an explosion. Mega Man felt power. I have Cutman's power, he said. That's amazing, Roll said. Now let's go get the power of the other 5 robots. If you can get past me, Shadow shouts. I'll give you 2 options, Mega Man. You can either get killed or you can surrender. Which one? Okay, Mega Man said. I'll surrender, Elec Man. Good, Elec Man groaned. Why did he groan? Why did he groan that? What do you think of my story, Troy? What do you think of my story? Do you like this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? You don't like it? I don't think anybody likes it. But we're sticking to it anyway. Okay, where was I? Good, Elec Man groaned, walking towards Mega Man, but when he got close, Mega Man put up his arm cannon and cut Elec Man's head off with Cutman's power. Then there was another glow, and Mega Man gained Elec Man's power too. Later, they ran into a room that had 2 corridors. Now which way do we go? Roll asked. Let's take the left path, Mega Man answered. When they were almost out, 2 of Dr. Wily's robots jumped in their way. It was Iceman and Fireman. Roll, you get Iceman, I'll get Fireman, Mega Man said. I'm going to destroy you with my freeze ray, Iceman shouted, blasting at Roll, but that didn't stop her. She turned her hand into a vacuum cleaner and sucked up the blast, then shot it back at Iceman, turning him into a hunk of ice. Then Roll turned her hand into a hockey stick and bashed it into Iceman, and he broke into pieces. There's that glow again, Roll cried at Mega Man as he gained Iceman's freeze ray. Give it up, Mega Twerp, Fireman growled. You still have to get past me. Easy, Mega Man said, freezing Fireman and cutting him to bits. Then he got his powers. Run, Roll shouted. Why? Mega Man asked. Because there's a giant spike ball rolling towards us, she shouted. As they ran, they went back to the room with the 2 corridors. We have to take the right one, Mega Man shouted, but when they got there, they saw Bomb Man, the fattest of the bots. The ball's still after us, Roll said. Good, Mega Man said, avoiding Bomb Man's bombs. Jump! And with that, Roll jumped up and grabbed onto a chain and swung into an upper chamber. Come on, Mega Man, she shouted. Not yet, he responded. Give up, Mega Man, Bomb Man said. Nothing happened. Mega Man waited until the wrecking ball was right behind him, then jumped, and the ball went straight for Bomb Man. That isn't going to stop me, Mega Punk, he shouted, throwing a bomb at the ball and destroying it. Try to stop this, Mega Man said, falling on top of Bomb Man. Okay, I will, Bomb Man told Mega Man. Just then Bomb Man made himself explode with Mega Man on top of him. Mega Man, Roll shouted, jumping to the ground. I'm okay, he answered. But not for long, Gutsman shouted, throwing a car at Mega Man and not missing. Where did he get a car? And why did I have to specify that he didn't miss? But Mega Man just blasted out from under it and threw a bomb at Gutsman, but he just caught it and threw it back, then it exploded. Give up, Roll shouted, jumping at Gutsman, but he just grabbed her leg and tossed her through a closed window. Then he walked up to Mega Man and tossed him straight through a metal wall, but Mega Man just got back up and blasted Gutsman's head off. I wish I could read this with a straight face, but I can't. I wrote this! And never have I been more ashamed of anything in my life. But boy, is it brilliant. Then Roll jumped back in just as the power explosion occurred. Let's go, Mega Man ordered as they continued. Just as they were halfway through the room, a giant rock monster came, and Mega Man blasted at his foot, but it just reflected off him and hit Mega Man. I've got an idea, Mega Man mentioned to Roll. Then he blasted a cut blade, elect blade, ice beam, fire beam, and a bomb all at the monster's eye, and it fell to the ground. Next, Mega Man picked up and threw it. Why is that there? That couldn't have been in the original. Because originally this was handwritten. That typo couldn't have been in the original. But how did it get through when I was typing? Was that in the original? I don't have the original anymore. I threw it out in place of typing it up in a neater form. Did I write up twice in the original? Alright, let's just get through this sentence. Next, Mega Man picked up... Alright. Next, Mega Man picked up and threw it down a pit. Nailed it. An hour later, Mega Man was at Dr. Wily's super defense system, a giant bubble. Mega Man has trapped himself inside the bubble and is attacking the engine itself. Try stuffing bombs inside the engine, Roll shouted. Good idea, Mega Man responded, stuffing 15 bombs inside the engine. Then it exploded. Look, Mega Man shouted, it's the end of the corridor. Mega Man, Dr. Wily said inside a flying vehicle. This is the final battle. I want this to be one-on-one. No help. Just you and me. You're on, Mega Man shouted. Suddenly a cage went over Roll. How? Fight! Dr. Wily shouted in a deadly voice. Mega Man blasted at a crystal on the vehicle. You found my weakness, Dr. Wily shouted, but then he blasted plasma energy, grenades, bombs, electricity, metallic acid, missiles, atomic bombs, and doom lasers at Mega Man all at the same time. Then there was an explosion and there was no sign of Mega Man. Ha 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 ha! Dr. Wily shouted in a delightful voice. All there was smoke and scrap metal. Now to take my prize, he said, making a hole come up from under Roll. Then she fell and Dr. Wily left the room. And as he did, Mega Man came out from his hiding spot. I've got to save Roll and stop Dr. Wily, he said, following him. And after an hour, he caught up with Dr. Wily. Give Roll back and surrender, Mega Man shouted. Never, Dr. Wily responded, firing 2 homing missiles, but Mega Man blasted them, then blasted the crystal with the fire beam. Then he jumped up to it and smashed it with Gutsman's strength. Then it exploded, but Dr. Wily got away. Mega Man, the place is going to blow, Roll shouted, so they escaped. Back at Dr. Light's lab, Mega Man and Roll explained everything. Remarkable adventure, Dr. Light complimented. But is this the end of Dr. Wily? Maybe, Roll answered, just as the lab exploded. What? There's a climax for you. What's that? Dr. Light asked. It's my skulker, Dr. Wily answered, but then Mega Man blasted into its cannon and it exploded. I will be back with more traps and robot masters, Dr. Wily said, running off somewhere. Well, that's the last we'll see of him for a while, Mega Man said. The end? Question mark? That's a lot of question marks. So there's the first chapter. Next up is Mega Man 2, The Adventure Continues, where we move on to a story based on the second game in the series. Keep in mind, I knew nothing about the game's storylines other than what I saw in the cartoon, so I took lots of liberties, partly because I wanted it to be original to some capacity, and also because I had to apply my own general understanding of what was going on based on what I could interpret with very little information. A bit of an interesting story with Dr. Wily, though. When I very first wrote this, I spelled it with 2 L's, because that's how I remember the name being written. So when I presented it to the teacher, basically how it worked is we had free writing during class on a regular basis, and then we would write something for a while, and then we would all have to go up one at a time while doing another assignment was going on. And we would have to read what we wrote. I don't know what other people wrote. I don't know if other people just wrote just like real quick throwaway stories that they came up with on the fly, or if they did something like this where it was every time I worked on it, I continued the story, because I was working on this for months. Every day in class, just writing it in my notebook and then presenting what I had done to the teacher. And with Dr. Wiley, I remember spelling it with 2 L's because that's how I thought it was spelled. So when she was reading it with me, she pronounced it Dr. Willie. And I said, no, it's Dr. Wiley. So then she corrected it by adding an E in place of the second L. Later, I went and played one of the video games just to confirm that it was just 1 L. But I find it kind of strange because Wiley is an actual word. So I find it weird how the teacher corrected it incorrectly. You'd think she would know that it's W-I-L-Y. So where that E came from, I have no idea. Not yet, Dr. Wiley shouted. I'm not going to let it end unless I win. You'll never win, Mega Man said. Yes, I will, the doctor shouted. Mega Man, Bubble Man, attack! What? Yes, I will, the doctor shouted. Mega Man, Bubble Man, attack! And then Meta Man, who is very skilled, threw 2 saw blades at once, straight at Mega Man. Ah, Mega Man shouted, getting blasted by the blades. Ha! Meta Man laughed. How do you expect to win with no arms? My turn, Bubble Man shouted, shooting out a bunch of bubbles, catching them and making them into one giant bubble and trapping Mega Man in it. Bubble Man looks like a scuba diver. Now he can't fight nor breathe, Dr. Wiley said in excitement. Wow! With how terrible this is, I cannot believe I used the word nor. Where was I? Let's go! Just a sec, said Heat Man, one of Dr. Wiley's strongest men, shooting fire under the floating bubble. Now if the bubble pops, he will fall into my fire and burn. Ha 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 ha! He laughed, running off. Dr. Light, what do we do? Roll asked. I've got an idea, Dr. Light mentioned. First, I couldn't even continue reading that. Alright, let's get... This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I've got an idea, Dr. Light mentioned. First, move the bubble away so it's not above the fire. Then pop it. No shit. He says that like it's some brilliant plan, but... Duh. Roll did exactly as the doctor said, and it worked. No kidding! Mega Man, are you alright? Roll asked, running up to Mega Man. Yes, Mega Man answered. You are? Roll shouted. No, Mega Man said. But you said... Roll started to say. I was being sarcastic, Mega Man said. I think you know what the answer was to your question, he said. Let's go to the lab and fix you, Dr. Light said. But the lab was just destroyed. Maybe the lab exploded at the end of the previous thing, and judging from the dialogue with Dr. Wiley at the start of this, basically responding to what Mega Man said, I assume that somehow, by some crazy miracle of magic or whatever, this takes place immediately following, so where is this lab coming from? Whatever. Let's go in the lab and fix you, Dr. Light said. Later in the lab, Dr. Light discovered something. I can put Mega Man's arms back on, but he won't be able to use his weapons, he said. But I can repair his weapon system if you two go get a specific crystal. I can insert it in Mega Man, not only making him able to use his weapon again, but it will make him 20 times stronger and make his armor 17 times better. Robotics. That explains everything. Well, let's go, Mega Man shouted. Then they left. Later, they found a mountain with something shining on top of it. It's the crystal, Roll pointed out. Let's go get it, Mega Man said, starting to climb the mountain. When they got to the top, Mega Man grabbed the crystal. Suddenly, the ground started shaking like crazy. It's an earthquake, Roll shouted. No, it's not an earthquake, Mega Man shouted. It's an eruption. We've got to get out of here. Suddenly, the top of the volcano exploded and Mega Man was on it. Mega Man, Roll screamed, suddenly getting blown down as well. Yikes, Mega Man shouted as Roll fell on top of him. Do you have the crystal? Roll asked, rolling off Mega Man. Yeah, Mega Man answered, but it's cracked. Just then, Woodman, the fattest of them, ran up to Mega Man and Roll. I've got an idea, Mega Man mentioned, running back up to the volcano and jumping into it. Just as he planned, Woodman followed him to the hole, only he didn't jump in. But just then, Mega Man grabbed him by the leg and pulled him into the volcano. He then let go so Woodman would fall towards the upcoming lava. Then Mega Man climbed out and ran to Roll. How did you live? Roll wanted to know. Simple, Mega Man said. I didn't even fall. When I jumped in, I grabbed onto the edge of the hole. Woodman came up to the hole, at which time I grabbed his leg and pulled him in. Then I let him go and climbed out. And now we'd better get out of here before the lava surfaces out of the volcano and reaches us. Suddenly Mega Man started glowing, then exploded. Now I have Woodman's power, whatever that is, Mega Man said. Let's go, the lava's coming. But as they ran for the lava, Heatman and Crashman got in their way. Crashman is like a living missile launcher. He's not, but I feel like if I were writing this now, but with the same level of quality, I would probably describe Crashman as a biker because of his helmet. Give it up, sissies, Crashman shouted, shooting a homing rocket right at Mega Man. Crashman doesn't use homing rockets. Where did I get that from? He uses time bombs that latch onto things with little claws, then they explode. What is this about homing rockets? Uh-oh, Mega Man said, jumping out of the way. It's chasing you, Roll screamed to Mega Man. I've got to take my chances, Mega Man whispered to himself, tossing the crystal at the bomb, making it explode. The crystal shattered into two pieces. I got half of the crystal, Mega Man, Roll said, catching half of the crystal. And I've got the other half, Proto Man said, jumping in and catching it. Let's go, Roll, Mega Man declared. First, you'll have to get past us, Heatman said. Simple, Roll said, turning her hand into a type of fan and freezing Heatman and Crashman. She turned her hand into a vacuum, shooting leftover sand at Proto Man so Mega Man could kick him down to the ground. Mega Man broke Heatman and Crashman into pieces. Then he glowed and exploded right as Proto Man jumped on him. Wait. Now, originally I brought up the thing with the lab exploding and then Dr. Light taking them into the lab. That was between two different chapters though, so I could kind of write off the lack of continuity based on that. But here, I wasn't able to remember what happened a minute ago, yet I recalled what happened like a third through the previous chapter to suddenly bring up for no reason at this part. And all it is sand. And why does she have leftover sand? How did this continuity occur? But that thing with the lab exploding, which just seems so much more significant, be completely overlooked. What? I'll be back, Proto Man told them, running off. Why did he jump on Mega Man and then run away? Instead of jumping on him and then blasting him, he just runs away. What? Now let's get back to Dr. Light, Roll said, running in front of Mega Man as he followed. At the lab there was a big problem. The place had been trashed and Dr. Light was gone. Where's Dr. Light? Mega Man asked, surprised. Just then Quick Man, the fastest of them all, came forward holding Dr. Light. Give him back, Roll demanded. If you can beat me, my little friend, Quickman challenged. You're on, Mega Man said, getting ready for battle. What are the prizes, Roll wanted to know. Did they just establish that? Okay, I'll tell you, Quickman said. If I win, I keep Dr. Light and the other half of the crystal. And if you win, it's the other way around. Just then a rabbit appeared in front of them and exploded. What? Since when does Mega Man have exploding rabbits? Looks like you beat him, but now you have to fight me, Quickman charged. But Mega Man took a shovel, dug a hole, and filled it with spikes. Quickman fell in and exploded, so did Mega Man. Then he got Quickman's power. What? Where did he get the shovel? And where did he get the spikes? And if Quickman charged him, how did he do all of that so quickly? I thought Quickman was supposed to be fast. Maybe This is why we're here, folks. Quality writing. I don't know where the bullet is for this thing. I don't even know if I still have it. I have the sword that attaches on top of it, but there's also a little Nerf bullet that went inside of it. Then you cock it. Dr. Light, are you alright? Roll asked. Dr. Light nodded as Mega Man told him the story, then gave him the half crystal, and Roll gave him the other half that she saw Quickman holding. Later, Dr. Light was done and put in an extra weapon. Press this button before you fight Proto Man the next time you're fighting him, the doc said. Just then, Proto Man came in and blasted at a computer and it exploded. Then Mega Man pressed the button and fired, but instead of being a yellow blast, it was a red blast, where Proto Man dodged it, then ran off shouting, "I'll be back, bro." "And I'll be waiting," Mega Man said calmly as Proto Man disappeared out of sight. "What's the new blast for anyway?" Mega Man asked, switching it off. "Oh, you'll find out soon enough," Dr. Light answered. Just then, Airman, a giant fan bot, came in and blew a tornado right at Mega Man. He got sucked up by it and thrown into a wall, but he got up and blasted Airman. Then Airman ran off. At least there's lots of action and people running away. Mega Man jumped in front of Airman and blasted right into the fan. Then Airman exploded and Mega Man got his power. "Alright," Mega Man shouted. "He was hard to defeat, but I was successful." "That was hard?" "You sure were," Dr. Light said. "Now you and Roll must head towards Skull Fortress and stop Dr. Wily." "Alright, now let's go," Roll shouted, following Mega Man. "Be careful," Dr. Light shouted to them. "We always are," Mega Man shouted back. Just then, Proto Man ran in front of them, and without even hesitating, Mega Man pressed the button and blasted at Proto Man and hit him right into a trash can. Then Proto Man got out of the garbage and ran out shouting, "See ya, bro!" "Now all I have to do is wait and see what it does or what happens," Mega Man wondered to himself. Just then, Flashman, the most powerful and deadly of Dr. Wily's robots, jumped in front of Mega Man and Roll. "Have a taste of my power," Flashman challenged, blasting at Mega Man and Roll with a special type of beam that froze them stiff. "Now what do we do?" Roll asked Mega Man. "You can't do anything," Flashman said, blasting Mega Man with a normal blast. "I can move," Mega Man said, blasting Flashman in the chest, setting him to self-destruct in 2 seconds. Ah! Ah, Mega Man shouted. Wait. Ah, Mega Man shouted for no reason. Then Flashman exploded and Mega Man got his power. Bubble Man came from behind Mega Man and Metal Man came from in front. Come on, Metal Man, blast at me, Mega Man shouted. Alright, Metal Man told Mega Man, but as Metal Man blasted, Mega Man jumped over the blade and it cut Bubble Man in half. Mega Man used Flashman's power to freeze Metal Man, then smashed him with Guts Man's power. Just then, wait, but... I can repair his weapon system. I can put Mega Man's arms back on, but he won't be able to use his weapons. You'd think that would... Did I mean something different when I wrote that? Or was that just another continuity error? Just then, Proto Man ran up. What are you doing here? Mega Man asked in a loud voice. Hey, Proto Man shouted. You know that new weapon that you blasted me with? Proto Man asked. Yeah, Mega Man answered. It made me good, Proto Man says. Now I can help you, Dr. Light, and Roll defeat Dr. Wily. Is this true? Mega Man asked Dr. Light. Yes, it is, the doctor answered. Great, Mega Man shouted. I've got an idea. Just then, Mega Man started glowing and a bright beam went inside of Proto Man. Now Proto Man has all the powers that I have. Now let's go stop Dr. Nutso, Roll said, running up to Mega Man and Proto Man. When they got to Skull Fortress, Roll saw a sign. Come through the back, she read aloud. It's probably a trap, Mega Man said. But we've got to take the chance. It might lead us to Dr. Wily. When they entered, they saw Dr. Wily just standing there. The room was very dark. Just then, the door shut from behind them and Dr. Wily started laughing. Not as much as we've been. That gun's making my hands sweaty. This is your doom. I am going to finish you here and now! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I lost count. Just then, Dr. Wily transformed into an alien and started tossing fireballs right at Mega Man, Proto Man, and Roll. But Mega Man used Woodman's leaf shield to block the fireballs. Then he blasted the shield at Dr. Wily, but it just broke in half on contact. How the heck did he do that? Mega Man shouted surprised. He split a piece of metal with his stomach. I got it, Proto Man said, blasting his normal weapon, but it just reflected off Dr. Wily and hit Proto Man. I remember, Proto Man shouted. Remember what? Mega Man asked, blasting a metal blade at Dr. Wily. His weakness, Proto Man said. What is it? Mega Man asked. It's Proto Man started. Just then, Dr. Wily blasted a teleporting beam at Proto Man that teleported him to another place in the palace. Then Dr. Wily shot a laser at Mega Man, draining him down to one energy cell. There's a plot device. Your history, Mega Man, Dr. Wily laughed, getting ready to fire. Surrender to me and I won't destroy you, Dr. Wily said. I'll never surrender, Mega Man said. Fine then, Dr. Wily said, blasting right at Mega Man. Then Mega Man started flashing. Arrgh, he shouted. I'll be back, Dr. Wily. Then he exploded. Your history, Proto Man shouted, barging into the room. Then he blasted Bubble Man's bubbles at Dr. Wily, blowing onto the other side of the room. What? Then he turned to normal and he ran off. Let's go, Roll, Proto Man said sadly. We'll get Dr. Wily someday. The end. Not. Mega Man 3, The New Companions. Moving on to the third game now in the story. When Roll and Proto Man got back to Dr. Light's lab, they told him what happened. If only I was faster, Dr. Light said. Faster with what? Roll asked curiously. With my new invention, Dr. Light answered. I just finished him. His name is Eddie, and he can give you energy tanks which recharge your energy when it's low. He'll be able to help me and Roll, but I can't say the same for Mega Man, Proto Man said. Just then a robot smashed through the wall. Who is that? Roll asked. I am your doom, he said. Yeah, but what's your name? His name is Magnet Man, Dr. Wily shouted. He is one of my most powerful robots ever. Then Magnet Man blasted a magnetic blast at the roof and it started collapsing. Look out, Proto Man shouted, pushing Dr. Light down to the ground. What was that all about? Dr. Light asked, surprised. Somebody was about to shoot at you. You're right, Proto Man, a voice said, walking in. I am Snake Man, the voice said. He's one of the most skilled and fastest of the bots. I'll leave Magnet Man and Snake Man to finish you, Dr. Wily shouted, running off. The more I read this, the more difficult it is to do so without stuttering or whatever. I'm just being overwhelmed by the terribleness of all this. We can't defeat them alone, Roll said. Well, help's on the way, a voice said. Huh? Magnet Man, getting blasted to the ground. It's Mega Man, Proto Man shouted. Who else would be able to help you? Mega Man said, picking up Magnet Man and throwing him right into Snake Man. Then they ran off. Mega Man, is it really you? Roll asked. The one and only, Mega Man answered. What's that supposed to mean? Roll asked. Yes, Mega Man said. But we saw you get destroyed, remember, Roll? Proto Man told Mega Man. Looks like it's time for a flashback, Mega Man said. You're right, Mega Man, Roll said. I remember, Roll said, but how is Mega Man here with us now if he got destroyed by Dr. Wily? The answer to your question is similar to how I escaped Dr. Wily on our first quest. I have a hunch that Mega Man's going into another one of his long speeches, Roll said. When was it ever established that Mega Man is prone to long speeches? I don't feel like there was anything in any of these pages that would suggest that. But I guess Mega Man is prone to long speeches now. Well, first of all, Mega Man started, Dr. Wily didn't destroy me. I only flash when I can only withstand one more blast of anything. But it's only for a limited time, and right as I started to stop flashing, I dropped a bomb right behind myself. Then, right as the bomb exploded, I jumped out of the way, which by this time the flashing had stopped. Then, while you two were distracted by Dr. Wily, I snuck out and headed towards the lab. When I got there, I met Eddie, but at the time I didn't know who or what in the world he was. So I told him that I was low on energy and that I had to see Dr. Light. But then Eddie told me that he could give me energy. So he did, and just in time so I could save you. And I think that you guys know the rest of the story. Remarkable story, Mega Man, Dr. Light complimented. I don't feel like remarkable is the appropriate word for any of this, but sure, let's roll with it. But now who knows what Dr. Wily has ready for us, Mega Man said. This is what Dr. Wily shouted. Hard Man! Who? Mega Man questioned. You are all to be destroyed, Hard Man said. He was fatter than Bomb Man and Woodman. Yeah, right, Mega Man shouted, blasting at Hard Man. Don't tickle me, Hard Man laughed. What? Proto Man said, surprised. Look at all the armor he has. No wonder it didn't hurt him. That gave me an idea, Mega Man said, blasting at Hardman's face. Since that part of him didn't have armor, he exploded immediately. It's late, Dr. Light yawned. I'm going to bed. Good night, Mega Man said as he turned off the light. At midnight, I'm done, Dr. Light shouted. Done with what? Mega Man wondered, walking into the room. With my invention, the doctor said. His name is Rush. He's a robo-dog. And how do you expect him to help us defeat Dr. Wily? Mega Man asked. He can transform into any vehicle on Earth, Dr. Light answered. What? Mega Man tried to say something, but he fainted. What's with him? Proto Man asked, entering the room. Just something I made for him, Dr. Light answered. And there's also something for Roll. What? Roll shouted quickly, running into the room. A sky bike, Dr. Light said. No fair, Roll said. Why does Mega Man get the cool dog that can change into anything, and I get a stupid sky bike? Well, Dr. Light thought. Roll stomped out of the room. I believe she's quite happy with it, Dr. Light said calmly. Yeah, right, Proto Man said. She'll get used to it, Dr. Light said. At Skull Fortress, Hardman failed and Mega Man got his weapon. Well, it's complete, Dr. Wily said. Now I've got to get Mega Man, Roll, and Proto Man to come here. But how? I'll forget it. They'll come soon enough to try and stop me. And Dr. Wily was right. Because at that very moment, Roll, Mega Man, Proto Man, and Rush were outside Skull Fortress. Okay, now how are we going to get in? And that's the end. And that's as far as I ever got with it. I assume maybe I came up with something else to write, or maybe we stopped doing the free writing, or maybe the school year ended, or whatever. I don't remember exactly why, but that's the end. There's no more of that story for us to enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know I did. I genuinely got some great laughs out of this. It's not good, and there's no actual comedy. I mean, there are some parts where I tried to be funny, but those parts weren't funny. The funny parts were the parts where I was trying to be serious or explain something in a dramatic way, and it just came off as laughably ridiculous. So there you have it. I don't really know how to end this video. This is just something I wanted to do. I had the idea following my mention of this story's existence in a episode of Shining Force. And so I thought, what the heck? I will share this monstrosity with the world. So let me know what you thought of this in the comments below. Give it a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more. Most of the channel will still be video game Let's Plays, but I want other stuff on the channel. I don't want it to be just that. There needs to be some variety. Otherwise it might not be very interesting and it might get repetitive after a while. So do all the things and I'll see you next time. Now I have to put all these pages back in order. And then put back in my notebook. Okay, there is going to have to be outtakes for this apparently. Even though I'm just reading from a piece of paper. Alright, let's begin. Mega Man. Indeed, what is with him is with him. Dr. Wily responded, Dr. Light has... Wait, what? That's not how quotation marks work. Damn it. I didn't punch you, and the only reason I bumped you was because you blew the sand in my face so I couldn't see. Then I tripped and fell into a bush and was... blah 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 blah. Bang! Ah! Mega Man screamed, getting... that scream was terrible. How? Fight! Dr. Wily shouted in a deadly voice. Why does it say how? That's whatever. You know, I'm keeping it because I'm gonna be having the... Gotta get all the laughs out. Huh? Magnet Man getting blasted to the ground. My turn, Bubble Man shouted, shooting out a bunch of bubbles, catching them, and then making them turn, and then making them into giant... I can't move, Mega Man said, blasting... I swear sometimes reading these sentences is made exceptionally difficult by just how terrible they are. What's that? Dr. Light asked. It's my Skulker, Dr. Wily answered, but Mega Man blasted into its cannon and it exploded. What's that? Dr. Wily asked. It's my Skulker, Dr. Bleh. Now let's get back to Dr. Light, Roll said. Is that recording? Yeah. And now... There you go. Blah, blah, blah. Bubble Man came from behind Mega Man and Metal Man came from in front. We're in the... Blah, blah. What? It's late, Dr. Wiley yawned. I'm going to bed. That's a transition. Just then a rabbit appeared in front of them and exploded. Looks like you beat him, but now you have to fight me, Quickman charged. But wait, what? I don't even... What? Bravo! So there you have it. I don't really know how to end this video. I just